We saw current cloud providers being very restrictive on what they can do. They're basically driving business to function in a certain way. We end up creating an architecture and an environment where businesses can now come into the cloud and not having to change their business, but instead take advantage of all of the benefits of the cloud to enhance their businesses or applications, better analytics, all those kind of things that you demand and want in your cloud provider. The philosophy behind BriteSky is all about being collaborative. It's not about dictating what a company needs to do. It's a matter of being collaborative and making sure that they're able to take advantage of the cloud, but also making sure that the cloud can morph itself into what the business requires. So we make sure that when we transition applications from on-premise to the cloud, that it's going to be the same end user experience, which is so critical to businesses. So the migration process is determining the application's performance while it sits on the client site. And then we put SLAs around that, and then we sit there and stage the approach into the cloud. So meaning we deploy it, test it, make sure it's functioning properly, and then after that, we end up having the user verify to make sure that the end user experience has not changed. We pre-stage the application into the cloud based on the migration process, meaning that we know what the application is supposed to be like. Now we can sit there and go through our different tests on the application, test it in different ways, stress it in different ways. Once we understand how it behaves, then after we can put together that final test and cutover. We want to make sure that we're not bringing all of the applications all at once. We want to make sure we do it one by one, so both the organization and BriteSky can feel comfortable accepting those applications into the cloud. The architecture in BriteSky is where things are very, very unique compared to all the other cloud providers. We have the storage layer, we have the networking layer, we have the compute layer, the virtualization layer, and then we have the security layer. And at each one of those layers, we end up creating what we call a capsule in each one of those layers. We take all of those capsules and put them together into what we call a virtual vault. And all of that together is called a pod, a portable on-demand data center. And it's extremely scalable, up to 30,000 virtual machines and exabytes in storage. A lot of people sometimes are going to sit there and say, well, I want to go to the cloud to save money. And in reality, that's not the real reason why people usually go to the cloud. Most often, you have either growth, which is out of control. So bursting into the cloud is a perfect example for that. It could even be a startup. So as you sit there and try and scale your infrastructure internally, it becomes very, very difficult. The cloud has that capability to scale and morph and change itself very, very rapidly. The good thing with BriteSky is that we're extremely collaborative, and we can do it application by application. It's not an all or nothing. You can do it one application at a time. And this is where we work with the client to make sure we understand their business and their requirements. And then we try and make sure that the architecture and infrastructure within BriteSky can meet those demands of the business as it changes. BriteShare is about file sharing in the cloud. It runs within your virtual vault. So we can make it very, very personal for the organization. So an outside organization feels like they're dealing with that organization versus with a cloud provider. BriteRecover has to do with doing DR to the cloud. Backup to the cloud is we have an appliance sitting on your site, you back up to that, and then from there we replicate that data into our cloud infrastructure. BriteVM is about running virtual machines into the cloud, into your own virtual data center, which is again within that virtual vault. BriteReports has to do with being able to report on your storage and try and provide KPIs to management so they can better utilize the storage and also understand what is happening with their storage.